Yeah. 5 minutes?
I'd like to begin by thanking City staff for all of your hard work on this budget, and of course to the Budget Committee and City Council for allowing me to speak with you today. My name is Chiara Paravani, and I'm here on behalf of North York Harvest, the primary food bank serving Northern Toronto since 1986. I'm here to ask our city government to increase funding to the poverty reduction strategy. At North York Harvest Food Bank, our network consists of 40 agencies who are seeing 20,000 visits per month to food banks. This is more than 50% higher than pre-pandemic service levels. And one thing I really want to emphasize is that food bank use is continuing to increase. From last year, food bank use has increased 16%. So things were really bad at the peak of the pandemic, but they are getting worse. While food bank visits are increasing and skyrocketing and reaching record levels in this city budget sees the lowest new investment in the poverty reduction strategy to date. We know from people coming to our food banks that the cost of living is weighing heavy, making it impossible for more and more people to make ends meet. After paying rent, the average person using a food bank has $8 to spend on food and all other expenses. That's $1 less than they had last year. Because of systemic racism and oppression for Black, Indigenous, and people of color, that daily budget drops to $7.75, and for newcomers to Toronto, that daily budget is less than $4. Less than $4 a day to spend on food, to spend on TTC fares, to spend on recreation services for your kids. While more and more people are struggling with the high cost of living to the extent that they are skipping meals, this city budget increases recreation fees and transit fares, and in fact, it falls short on fully implementing the discounted fare pass, which was supposed to be implemented by 2021. Let's talk about housing. Almost 7 in 10 food bank clients are paying more than half of their income on rent, putting them at risk of homelessness, with almost 1 in 5 food bank users paying all of their income on just rent, with nothing left to spend on food or anything else. But while more and more people are turning to food banks because they cannot afford their rent, this budget has no increase to the rent bank or to the multi-unit residential acquisition MURA program to maintain and protect affordable housing units in the city. And in fact, this budget falls $7 million short on council's own commitment to that program. Our network of 40 agencies, our community partners, and the people who run them have stepped up to meet unprecedented and record levels of food insecurity over the last 3 years. And I cannot thank them enough for their service to our communities. But what we are hearing from them constantly is that they are over capacity and overwhelmed. But despite that, this budget flatlines the community partnership and investment program, an effective cut to funding, not keeping up with inflation for the first time I'm aware of, and forcing these exact same community organizations to do more with less. On behalf of North York Harvest Food Bank, I'm here to tell you that food banks cannot solve the problem of food insecurity and poverty. We are doing everything we can to meet this demand, but we are reaching our limit. And that's why we are urgently looking to the mayor, to our city government, to use this budget to take action on poverty and increase funding, at the very least, to the poverty reduction strategy. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Holliday, question.
Thank you for speaking to us. Why do you believe it's the city government that needs to solve food insecurity and poverty? Now, I've taken a little liberty on your words, but I'm take it that that's the suggestion. Just philosophically.
I believe it's the responsibility of every level of government to solve poverty and food insecurity. And I focused my deputation today on the aspects of the poverty reduction strategy that fall completely under municipal jurisdiction.
Okay, so which are those? Which are those municipal jurisdictions that you feel strongly about?
The Fair Fare Pass program, which was supposed to be implemented in 2021. I'd love to see that program fully implemented. Instead, this budget is looking to increase transit fares, which will disproportionately impact the people using our services. The Mura program, like I said, $7 million short on council's own commitment to that program to protect affordable housing units in the city. And the partnership, investing in partnerships and communities program, that funding by the city has been flatlined, which is a cut to community service organizations that are already under such immense pressure to meet these increasing needs that we're seeing in our community.
Would you agree that provincial and federal governments, by virtue of their ability to raise taxes through income tax, are better positioned to deal with situations of income inequality?
I can assure you, Councillor Holliday, that I will be making similar deputations to our provincial and federal governments to tackle income inequality and poverty in our country and in our province. There are many, many income revenues that the city is not yet taking advantage of. We can increase the vacancy home tax, implement a luxury home tax, the commercial parking levy, which we've been hearing about. There are other revenue tools that the city can be taking advantage of that fall under municipal jurisdiction to increase funding to this program, to increase funding to the provincial or the poverty reduction strategy. So that's what I'm looking for our provincial government to do. I'm not asking our municipal government to do more than what is within our jurisdiction to commit to.
And please appreciate they're philosophical questions, but
I always do,
Yeah,
Councillor
yeah,
Holliday.
yeah,
I spend a
yeah.
lot of time thinking philosophically.
I get it, and that's why I want to ask. So you raised the specter of additional tax avenues. Do you advocate, from a philosophical sense, that the city government should be more or additionally into the business of income redistribution because of those tools? Or would you rather see it left to the provincial and federal government? Whether or not you agree or disagree with the level at which they do it, from a governance or a division of roles, would you rather see it left to those orders?
I'm not entirely sure if I understand the question, Councillor Holliday, but I would say that revenue tools, whether they are city, provincial, or federal, should absolutely be looking at implementing them through an equity lens, where the folks who have the most pay a little bit more and the folks who don't pay less.
Okay, maybe just to reconfirm or round it out, your advocacy would be for the city to increase the use of revenue tools or taxes to increase income redistribution programs, to get more into the business of it.
I would like to see the poverty reduction strategy have increased funding. How City Council decides to do that can be through increasing revenues by taking advantage of new revenue sources, or it can be through realigning some of the priorities that Council has.
Fair enough, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Bravo, question?
Since we were talking about issues of philosophy, I just wanted to check in on one thing. It's my understanding that federal and provincial governments have made policy and funding decisions that have harmed the cities or every municipality's ability to meet needs, and also have left the city governments with holding the responsibility for dealing with the outcome of those bad policies, like around housing, et cetera, massive tax cuts to the wealthy and massive corporate tax cuts. It sounded to me like what you're saying is that the needs are so great, and that given the lack of supports that we have currently from federal and provincial governments, that we would turn to Torontonians that have, for example, a vacant home, to ask them to pay, instead of like 1%, maybe like Vancouver's now charging 5% for a vacant homes tax. And you mentioned some other forms of taxation. is it because you want to make sure that we're meeting the needs that you're seeing and at the food bank and elsewhere?
Yes, of course. The food banks and our network can definitely sympathize with city government's frustration when you have to respond to provincial and federal policies that put bigger stress on the city government, because food banks were supposed to be a stopgap solution, right, to poverty. We were supposed to just be a temporary fix, but we have become more and more needed and have become more and more relied on to serve low-income communities, to make sure people can put food on the table. And I am here to say that we cannot solve this problem. We cannot solve poverty and food insecurity, and depending on us to do that is going to doom us for failure.
And finally, in a cost-constrained environment in which we find ourselves, you mentioned MURA, which is to secure existing affordable housing. There's also the EPIC, which is eviction prevention program. There's the rent bank that hasn't been increased. Would you say that the city has to pay in other ways when people become homeless? They're evicted or they lose their housing because they can't afford to pay their rent?
Absolutely. The cost of not preventing poverty is far more expensive through homelessness, through healthcare. We see that cost, down the line is much more expensive. If we take preventative measures today, we will be saving fiscally tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.